Today we're going to be working on toning down a transfer, the coloring on a transfer. Hi, I'm Myra with Boutique Paint. What do I mean by toning down? You may love a transfer, but it might be a little too bright, or you just want a different look after you've put a transfer on. And I'm going to show you a couple different techniques on how to tone these down, or just to get a different look off your transfers. So I love having little sample boards. I cut them down so that I have little ones, and then I have medium-sized ones so that I can be doing just little sample boards. Sometimes the dollar store will have thin wood pieces, so you can take a look there. We also have them on our website. So we're going to start out by putting this little transfer onto the sample board. A lot of times I'll tell you, to put those little scraps into a file folder. This is a perfect example of when to use them also, is to just do a little sample board to see what technique you might want to do over the top of a transfer. Or if you have a little corner of the piece you're actually using that you want to be using, just take that so you have the same coloring maybe. Now, instead of using the plastic, I'm going to actually use the paper backing to burnish this. And the reason why is because I can never remember what side's what, but the black lines sometimes will come off onto your piece. And I don't like that. I mean, sometimes it gives it kind of a aged effect, but sometimes you don't want that. So I'm just using the paper. And you could probably use either side. One side's a little slickery and the other one's flat, but you can just use either side. So the first one we're going to do is this is white, and then I'm going to take a little bit of faded burlap, and I'm just going to put it into a little cup. And it doesn't need to be a whole lot because I'm also going to water it down. And it's probably like a 50-50 there for the watering down. Just get that mixed up. I want just a smidge more water. And now I'm just going to take a brush and dip it in there. And I'm just going to go over the top of the whole thing. And that just tones down the color. Kind of gives it a old-fashioned look, which is kind of fun with these labels. But you can see that just tones that down a little bit. On this one, I'm going to do the same color green over the green to tone it down. And once again, I have watered down my color. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what's the point? Why would I want to take a transfer and then just kind of cover it up and tone it down? Well, there's all different kinds of looks. And there's a couple artists out there, one of them who I've actually taken classes from out of Germany, Nicola. I think her page is Art by Nicola. And hopefully I'm saying her name right, but she now has pivoted more towards art, but she was doing furniture pieces, and she would just layer and layer and layer to the point that you barely got to see what was underneath, but beautiful effects. So you can see that this is coming through. I'm going to leave that like that for now. So the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stain over the top. And you're like, well, how is that different than like wax? Couple things. Once you put a stain over it, you can still manipulate it. some waxes won't let you put product on top of the wax. Some will. And this is just kind of a brown. Let's see, I'm gonna grab another cup. And I'm going to water this down a little bit too. And if you don't have any water-based stain, the other thing you could do is just do a brown paint. And then water it down maybe a little bit more than you would like this. Being that this is a beige, you kind of get the feel of it. But if you want it a little darker or whatnot. So let's get some water in this. And this I'm going to water down maybe a little bit more. So maybe 1 part stain to 3 parts water. Get that stirred up. And this will probably give us a very similar effect as the beige because of the color I picked. Probably should have picked something that was a little bit darker, but this is the first one I had in front of me. But it might be a nice comparison. And grab another paintbrush. I got dirty paintbrushes everywhere now. And this is already a little muted. This isn't quite as bright of a color on this transfer. And I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to do a second coat, because you can see that that doesn't really tone it down a whole lot. So on this one, I'm going to use the watered down green again, and I'm going to use a sea sponge, and I'm just going to dip it in there. And I've already got the sea sponge wet, so I dampened it down, and I just want... I'm going to wipe a little bit of it off. I did some really nice spackling or spots there. That was actually kind of cool. And I'm just going to go around the edges now. And can you see the effect that it's making? It's just softening the edges of the flower a little bit. You're keeping the same color, but you're just toning down the edges. Just like that. Now this one, you can see that that is barely showing through. And that on a piece of furniture can actually be pretty awesome. But say that you want just a smidge more coming through. I'm going to take a baby wipe and just come in here. And this is DIY paint. So it's until you put the top coat over the top, whether it be wax or just a regular top coat, you can still be kind of manipulating it as far as color, as far as wiping it back. So I'm just kind of taking this and I'm just twisting a smidge just to pull, and that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let that dry up and see what it looks like. Nice thing is if you see that and you're like, no, that's still not what I'm wanting, then you can come back and you can actually wipe away and go back to your original. So for this one, you would want a drop cloth underneath your piece, preferably something like canvas. Otherwise, it's just going to make a soupy mess if you're using plastic underneath your piece of furniture or whatever you're doing this on, because we're going to spray it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Fancy Farm Girl, but I'm not going to water it down this time. I'm just going to paint over the top. And you can get very creative with how you may want to do this. And I'll show you one next with all the different, using several colors, but it's a matter of kind of layering and building up layers. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spray bottle, and this is where it gets messy, and I'm just going to spray it. And I'm going to let it drip. And you need to spray a lot of water so it'll start dripping. Once again, a cool effect. This one turned out really cool. It takes away the edging of the transfer, kind of hides it a little bit. If you're somebody that doesn't like the halos around the transfers, and what I mean by that is there's a little bit of a piece of, I don't know if you can see it on this since I've already done it. It's very, very small, and IOD is great about doing it. I'm not even sure if you can see it. It's just a teeny, tiny, clear edging around the whole thing that gives it a halo. But IOD has the smallest halo in the industry. But if you still don't like it, this is a great way to get rid of it also. And look at those speckles. That was a happy accident. How fun is that? I just got these little paint speckles. I love it. Since we're waiting for this one, I'm going to take some more of the stain and go over this again and just darken it up a little bit more and tone down the transfer a little bit more. And you don't have to just go one way. You can, you know, give it some texture. I mean, that's kind of fun because the leaf's kind of curly, so it kind of gives it a overall curly effect. But we'll see how that dries like that. Let's just leave it like that instead of wiping it back and see what that turns out like. It's all a matter of playing. It's all a matter of just kind of having fun with the process. So on this one, we're going to do multiple colors. And you might have noticed that I picked on most of these, with probably the exception of this one, bright colors. And I did that on purpose so you can see how you can really tone it down with these techniques. So I'm picking out colors that are kind of in the same family as this transfer. Kissing Booth is a little bit brighter, but you don't have to do it that way. You can do it any colors, anything. But, you know, we're just kind of doing baby steps of playing with it. So I'm just kind of willy-nilly putting on the paint, obviously. And I wouldn't, if I was using, if I was doing a piece of furniture, I wouldn't be using foam brushes for this. Because I would want a little bit of texture, even though we're going to spray it down. So now we're going to spray it again. We're going to get it all nice and drippy. And the fun thing about the DIY paint is you could walk away from this. You could put that paint on it. You could walk away from it and come back and do your spraying. It doesn't have to be wet to do the spraying and to get the effect. So next I'm going to put a little bit of pink. And this is Petticoat Pink. And I'm just going to kind of add to it. And you could blend this a little bit to kind of come up with your own colors, or just, and put the, I'm pulling it right out of the jar, which I shouldn't be doing because now I can't dip this back into the jar. Let's see if I can just put a little bit, cheat a little bit. I'll do it that way. And just kind of add the layers. And a little bit of that green showing through, so I'm gonna spray it a little bit more. And next I'm going to put a little bit of the green on here. Pull this over. Always reaching across. You would think I'd learn, but no. So I just want a little bit of this green in here too. All right. That you can see the cool effect. This is a perfect example of the halo because it's really showing up now. This is the halo here. So that's the thing people sometimes don't like. That's where doing the sponge around there, if you're really opposed to it, this is a good technique just to kind of blend it in. We might, let's see, let's grab that, the cease. And we can just, I don't think there's enough paint on that. Let me just, I'm going to cheat. Don't do what I'm doing. So you can kind of go around and feather that out. But you can see that is just kind of fun. It's very kind of abstract. So I want to add some top coats to these. This one, I'm going to put a high gloss on this because when it was still wet, it just had a really cool, kind of like a kitchen tile or a bathroom tile effect. And so I want to see what that's going to look like with the gloss. So I'm going to set that aside, but right now I'm just going to use clear wax and I'm just going to go over the whole thing. And with DIY paint, it changes the color when you put the wax on, but once, it's dried, it goes back to closer to the original color here. It will be a little bit darker, but not a lot. Now this one, because it was a top coat, you don't have to put wax on it. Because even though we watered down the top coat, it still has top coat properties to it. But I'm going to just go ahead and do a little wax on that anyway, because I think I might add some more coloring or some dark and decrepit dust to some of these, like this one. I'm just going to take a little dark and decrepit dust and put it right here. I'm just going to put this around the corners a little bit. Nudge. Oops. Let's do a little bit. Oh, I got a little bit of dark and decrepit. It went on there. Let's do a little bit of white on this. So this is some of the white decrepit dust. I'm just going to. And that can mellow it out even more. Once again, if you don't love that, just take a paper towel. I'll use my finger because I don't have a paper towel handy, and you can wipe it back. I love the way this one turned out. It is just so pretty. So let's get some wax on it and see if there's anything else that we might want to add, or we may just leave it like that. But you can see here that we really hid the halo effect. In here, you can see it still. This does not bother me personally, and it's going to show up different depending on what your base color is. But if it does bother you, this is a great way to help get rid of it. So I don't have any high gloss out here in my work shed. It's all in the house where I do my furniture painting. So I am just using the Mod Podge, which is a high gloss. And I'm going to just go over the top of this. This is the dishwasher safe. And this probably isn't also the best brush because a foam brush would leave it so that there wasn't any marks. But I've used up every single foam brush in here that I have. So we'll just have some brush marks in this. You can see it's pretty when it's glossy. So you can see you can get all kinds of different effects just by playing with the different products and different techniques over transfers. So don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. If you need to, do some sample boards to get the feel of it. So just play around and see what you come up with. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, you can go to our website at www.boutiquepaint.com. Bye.